Advesta sarvabhutanam
Maitre karuna evacha nirmamo nirankara samarupa sukham samit santushta satatamiyogi yatat madra nistaya mayoti man buddhi mana bhakta samekriya.
One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. Purport. Coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualification of a pure devotee in these two verses. A pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances, nor is he envious of anyone. Nor does a devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks this person is acting as my enemy due to my own past deeds. So it is better to suffer than to protest. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8, it is stated, Tattenu kampam susumikshmano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Whenever a devotee is distressed or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeeds, I should suffer far, far greater than I suffering now. So it is by the mercy of Supreme Lord that I am not getting all the punishment I am due. I am just getting a little by mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is always calm, quiet and patient, despite many distressful conditions. A devotee is also always kind to everyone, even to his enemy. Nirmamam means that a devotee does not attach much importance to the pains and trouble pertaining to the body, because he knows perfectly well that he is not the material body. He does not identify with the body. Therefore, he is freed from the conceptions of false ego and is equipoised in happiness and distress. He is tolerant and he is satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme Lord. He does not endeavor much to achieve something with great difficulty. Therefore, he is always joyful. He is a complete, perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master, and because his senses are controlled, he is determined. He is not swayed by false arguments, because no one can lead him from the fixed determination of devotional service. He is fully conscious that Krishna is the eternal Lord, so no one can disturb him. All these qualifications enable him to fix his mind and intelligence entirely on the Supreme Lord. Such a standard of devotional service is undoubtedly very rare, but a devotee becomes situated in that stage by following the regulative principles of devotional service. Furthermore, the Lord says that such a devotee is very dear to him, for the Lord is always pleased with all his activities in full Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna 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 Swami Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna 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 Vedanta Swami Namo Saras Goran Nirvis Sumyo Astata Jai Krishna Jai Prabhu Nitana Sri Advaita Radha Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. So here are the qualities that devotees can develop, and Krishna is mentioning all those different qualities. In material world, before you can occupy any position, you need some qualities and qualifications. Without that, you can't get that position. You want to be a judge, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, you must first get qualification, and then you will be certified as doctor, lawyer, or whatever position you are. In spiritual world, we first of all get the position and then get the qualifications. You first become the devotee and slowly you will develop all those qualities devotees need them. The spiritual world is definitely a different kind of world that you can see from here. And all these qualities mentioned, Krishna mentioned about maybe 25 to 26. Chaitanya Charitamrita mentioned also about 26 qualities can be developed by the devotees. And these are the qualities one can develop. Of course, there are 26. Very first one is Advesta. Advesta means non-envious. Of course, we can't go in the details of each and every quality, but definitely this quality of envy, Srimad Bhagavatam has elaborated also. Chaitanya Charitamrita has also given some points on this. And Srimad Bhagavatam is full of these qualities. Srimad Bhagavatam is only can be understood by a person who is totally not envious, envy-free, Advesta. He should not be envious. Nirmamam Nirankara. He should be. It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, very first verse, that Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be understood by those persons who are envious. Just simply, that is what that's mentioned. Nirmatsara. Nirmatsara is non-envious person. And Srimad Bhagavatam in the beginning of the first verse it mentioned that Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be of this kapat dharma, cheating propensities. Cheating propensities should not be there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of non-envious person and full of qualities which are described in this different verses of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is mentioned that this quality of nirmatsara, non-enviousness, is very important for understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. Those persons who will develop this quality of nirmatsara, non-envy, they can understand Srimad Bhagavatam very easily. And very first of Srimad Bhagavatam was mentioned about this part, that all other religions, if it is not there mentioning about this real dharma, then they are all cheating dharmas. Cheating dharmas, Srimad Bhagavatam mentioned about 4 cheating dharmas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the 4 principal things many people know about it, and they consider to be very important for the spiritual progress. But Srimad Bhagavatam rejects it because they are all on material platform. What is dharma? They understand dharma to be some material duties, some duties they have to perform every day, and that's what they consider dharma. And they do some dharma in order to get some upper planetary system. By performing some dharmic activity, religious activities, one can go to heaven. That's not the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam purpose is totally different. We will discuss by the end of the chapter. We will know by the end of the discussion. We will know what is the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is not the purpose that one should do some dharma and then go to heaven with guidance, and then of course come back again after finishing that whatever number of years you go to heaven with guidance, you come back. Dharma, that's definitely on the material platform from that you learn because it is nothing eternal there, and one has to come back in the material world to take another one. Artha. Artha is very simply understood that artha is nothing but the earning the livelihood, earning the money, and that money earning is only for usually. Usually is meant for the livelihood and for the self-gratification purpose. So that is the purpose of artha, so that is not considered to be very nice for Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma, artha, kam. Kam sabda is very clearly understood, it is a self-gratification. That is never mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is totally full of free from these desires. And dharma, artha, kam and moksha. The moksha, the liberation from this material bondage. Very often people want to become free from this material bondage so that they become free from this material suffering. That's not the end of this. Then you can get another body and you can come up again with another problems of material miseries, and you never will become free. So these are all dharma, artha, kam and moksha. Srimad Bhagavatam rejects it right from the beginning, considering to be a cheating dharma, and they say that it's not person with those kind of understanding, they cannot understand Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam can be understood only by the Vaishnavas who are free from envy, nirmatsara, and they can understand Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly. The purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam, or purpose of understanding Srimad Bhagavatam is that ultimately to get a Krishna thing. That's the purpose of understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise, there is no possibility. Once you hear the Srimad Bhagavatam is a duty. Like we have every day nitya karma, getting up early, taking bath, taking food, taking some rest. All these are nitya karmas. So it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, this hearing Srimad Bhagavatam should be also in nitya karma. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. That's why Srila Prabhupada started Srimad Bhagavatam class in each and every temple in the morning 7:30. Invariably you will see this Srimad Bhagavatam class in each and every temple at 7:30 in the morning. There is Srimad Bhagavatam class. It is Nityam Bhagavata Seva. Bhagavatam is to be always heard. Nityam Bhagavata Seva will bring us to what the point of ultimately brings to us. Ultimately brings to us to Krishna and Krishna Bhakti. And how should we hear it? Where should we hear it? How can we hear it? These are so many facts. There are so many points being mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. They will go after one after another. Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge, which is full of juice, which is full of sweetest nectarian juice, and that can be drunk. That's Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is a ripened fruit, Vedic tree, and it is a ripened fruit which is very sweet. It is the sweetest nectarian and juicy fruit, and that should be drunk. Now, how to drink, that is also Srimad Bhagavatam mentioned. Usually, people drink juices through the mouth. Srimad Bhagavatam, or this juice, or this juicy nectarian thing, or this sweetest nectarian juice cannot be drunk by mouth, but should be drunk by the ears. It's like strange. It should be drunk by the ears. And why it is to be drunk by the ears? Because hearing process is there. This drink, or this what is sweetest juice, is coming from this ripened fruit. And it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. When the ripened fruit is touched by a parrot, it becomes much sweeter than the original Krishna. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Vyasadeva. Ultimately, what it is being spoken now, it is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami is a Suk, parrot of Radharani. And Sukadeva Goswami is speaking this Srimad Bhagavatam on the bank of Ganges to Pariksit Maharaj. Sukadeva Goswami, being a parrot of Radharani, very good Radharani person. Sukadeva Goswami has never uttered the word Radha in whole Srimad Bhagavatam. Because it is said that if Sukadeva Goswami somehow or the other speaks the name of Radharani, he might go in ecstasy and his voice will choke up and he will not be able to finish, or he will not be able to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. He was so much attached. He was as I mentioned, he is a parrot of Radharani. So he has never used in Srimad Bhagavatam any word like Radha. Never, because otherwise he will go into ecstasy and he will not be able to finish the Srimad Bhagavatam in 7 days, which he promised to Pariksit Maharaj to finish it up before his so-called death. Of course, indirectly, he has mentioned some place, some very indirectly what Radharani he has mentioned it. He has mentioned it, Anaridata Nunum Hari Krishna Bhagavat Ishwara Swara. He has mentioned it, Anaridata. Anaradita means one who has worshipped Krishna perfectly, that person. And that person is nobody but Radharani. So he has mentioned the name of Radharani indirectly in Srimad Bhagavatam, but never directly. And that is what it is Srimad Bhagavatam is mentioned. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, as I mentioned in the beginning, there is a fruit, Nikam, and how the fruit has been described by Sukadeva Goswami in Srimad Bhagavatam. Nikam kalpataro galitam palam sukam padam vikam dhammasaitu. Vivatam bhagavatam rasam guru rasika guru bhavika. He is mentioning that this is Nikam kalpataro galitam palam. Nikam kalpataro galitam palam. This is the ripened fruit, sweetest nectarine fruit of Vedic literature. Nikam kalpataro galitam. Sukam padam drava savitam. It has been touched. It has been spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. And now who is drinking? Third line is mentioned. Nikam kalpataro galitam sukam padam drava. Vivatam bhagavatam rasalam muhuraho muhurasika guru bhavika. All those rasikas, all those who enjoy this nectarian juice, they are drinking it. They are drinking it through the ears, through the hearing process of ears. So they are drinking this juice. And Srimad Bhagavatam, as I mentioned, that the perfect literature spoken by Sukadeva Goswami to Pariksit Maharaj in 7 days, so that Pariksit Maharaj can be liberated from the bondage of this material world. And process, in this process, it is mentioned that Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita also mentioned to a certain extent in some places what is Srimad Bhagavatam, and then also Kaviraj Goswami mentioned some places, few places here and there about Srimad Bhagavatam. But this Srimad Bhagavatam, as I mentioned, should be done by hearing process. Process of hearing is important. Very often we see, and it's free of cost. There is no cost involved. There is nothing to pay to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning at 7:30 in any place, in any ISKCON temple. It's free of charge. Very often we see people go for drinking in material world. There are shops, they are open for 24 hours. There are advertisements, come, drink, dine and dance. They all these things. These are the advertisements going on and they are open 24 hours and people flock there. Flock them is there. It's a crowded place. We have heard it, it's a very crowded place, especially Friday and Saturday nights, those places are crowded because people want to drink, then eat and then dance with you also. And that's by paying some cost. Here is ISKCON offering same, drinking, dining and dancing without any cost. So still without any cost we are offering all these things, but a handful of people come here. And if you see those places, they are talking with the people, they are full of people there doing this thing. So we should advertise, we should preach and tell them that come here, drink, dine and then dance. So drinking is this nectarine juice of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Dining means eating Krishna Prasadam. And dancing is chanting the Hare Krishna with raised hand and dancing. So that's our process. And that's their process. Our process is costing nothing. Their process is costing millions of dollars. And then ultimately what is the next position that we don't know. They will have some hangover, they will have so many problems. Here, you have no problem. You get up early in the morning, again back to Hare Krishna chanting very quickly. So that's the process. So that is the process we are offering, and it should be taken up very seriously and very quickly. But people are not very much interested in this. People are interested in the Dharma, the common books. People are interested in this thing. By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing this kind of process, one becomes free from all kinds of anarthas. We are full of anarthas. Of course, we know six anarthas, we know always, but Srimad Bhagavatam mentions also 4 different kinds of anarthas. On the top of that, count more than one. So these are 6 subjects we come across always in our life, and we have always heard about it. But Srimad Bhagavatam mentions about 4 more anarthas on the top of that. And it's mentioning that first anartha is Swarup Brahm, or misidentity. Our Swarup has been misidentified. Swarup Brahm, we have misidentified our Swarup identity. Swarup Brahm, Asat Krishna, we have temporary desires to be fulfilled. Third is anartha, is Hriday Dorbalya. We are very weak in our determinations, especially when it comes to spiritual life. We are very weak. And the fourth one is we are Aprad Prabhalya. We are very prone to these offenses. So this 4 Aprad have been described in Srimad Bhagavatam in little detail. First Aprad that we come across, that is this Asat Krishna. We have all these temporary desires. Unfortunately, these desires are causes of bondage. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is mentioned, Manava Manasanam Karanam Bandha. The mind is the cause of our bondage and mind is the cause of our investment in this material world. So this mind, and ultimately these desires are there in the mind. So this mind, one has to become free from these desires. The Shastra compared Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned that Nadhanam Nadhanam Nasukaram Kavikam Vadakrishnai Mumma Janmani Janmasi Bhautar Bhakti Ahartikitwai. Bhautar Bhakti Ahartikitwai means the point of no desire. What is my desire is Ahaitiki Bhakti. That should be my desire. Ahaitiki Bhakti means without any motivation, the devotion service without any motivation. In Chaitanya, in Krishna, in the Shastra prayer, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned in the last Shastra prayer, Krishna, I know no one but you as my Lord. You send the mail, so you will indulge me roughly. Or you make me broken hearted by not being present. You are completely free to do anything and everything. but you are always my worshipful Lord unconditional. That's where comes the power. Unconditional. I have no condition to put forward if I want to worship. Most of the people have some conditions. Most of the people will come some desires to worship Krishna. That's okay. I'm not saying you should not worship. It is mentioned in the Bhagavatam that you should worship Krishna with your desire. It's not that person can come to a stage of desire, right, and next day when he enters the temple, when he becomes a devotee, and next day he has no desire. No, it's not possible. It's not possible. So one should worship Krishna with desire. Ultimately, Krishna is the one who is going to make you free from his desire. It's mentioned there. All kama, sabha kama, moksha kama, jara, tivrana, bhakti, yogana, yajati, purusham. It's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. All kama, you have no desire. Sarva kama, you have all desire. Moksha kama, you have desire of liberation. You should worship Krishna. That's why it's when all kama, sarva kama, moksha kama, tivrana, bhakti, yogana, yajati, purusham. You should greatly worship Supreme Personality. So in any situation you should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ultimately he is the one who is going to make you into point of desire. And that's why Chaitanya in Sikshastra Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned Gautad Bhakti Ahituki Tvai. We will come to a point of Ahituki Bhakti. And Ahituki Bhakti will be the one ultimately that will lead us to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That will lead us to that will lead us to at least Krishna Bhakti and Bhakti. So that is the Asat Krishna, about Asat Krishna. Coming up to the Hridaya Daurbalya, we are very weak in determination, especially when it comes to spiritual matters. Even Krishna mentioned to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, the Hridaya Daurbalya was very easy. You are very weak in your determination. Why you are doing this thing? You should be firmly fixed in this and you should do this thing. We are very weak in it, especially when it comes to spiritual determination. We are wavering, we are fixed, we can just change our mind. We can sankalpa and we can change our mind, and we are very weak in it. On the top of that, there are other durbalanity. The other durbalanity means we are full of envy, we are full of, it is said that it is kutinati. We have some desires which are hurting somebody. The kutinati desires are like that. And then we are also expecting naam, pratishtha, fame, adoration, all these things. We expect envy. If I am not adored, if I am not, my name is not mentioned in some place, why my name is not being mentioned. We need distinction, we need adoration, we need naam, pratishtha, everything. These are all kinds of desires that we want. We should be free from all those. We should not be worried about whether it is announced or it is done or not. We should not be worried. Hridaya Daurbalya. And then comes up the aparad pravadya. They are full, they are prone to offenses. Oh, we can perform all kinds of offenses. We have seva aparad, we have Vaishnava aparad, we have nam aparad, we have dham aparad, and we have so many aparad we come across. We have to be very careful. Bhakti Thakur mentions about that how you should chant the holy name. Aparada sunya hoy loho Krishna nam. Krishna Mata, Krishna Vita, Krishna Dhamma. That is Bhakti Thakur's songs he mentioned there. Aparada sunya hoy loho Krishna nam. One must chant the holy name of Lord without any offense. That's why we always try to remind ourselves in the morning with 10 offenses. I hope you do it. I don't know whether they do it or not. But these 10 offenses you always chant in the morning. So that is we are reminded of that. These are the 10 offenses which try to avoid it. And this offensive mentality ultimately will not make us progress in Krishna consciousness. It will not give us more. It will be just chanting. There is a nice story. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj has mentioned about this part. That one night, one marriage party was crossing the river. And it was a marriage party going on the other side of the river, across the river. And the boatman said, yes, come and sit down, I will take you. They say, oh, we have to eat by early morning there because the good time is there at that time, auspicious time is there, we have to finish up this, whatever waiting things. So he said, don't worry, sit down and take rest and I will take you on the other side of the river. People sat down on this boat and boatman was rowing the boat. He kept on growing, and it became morning. And the people woke up and they said, hey, still we are at the same place. What's going on? Are you boating? Are you going the boat or what are you going? What are you doing? He said, yes, I have been going all night. So I said, what happened? Why the boat is not moving? He said, I don't know. I have been going this boat. And finally they saw the boat was not on anchor. Boat was still anchored there. When the boat is anchored, boat cannot be, you have to unanchor the boat and that boat will start moving. So these attachments, anchors are there, material like all these attachments. We have this attachment, that attachment, that attachment. We should try to become free from those attachments slowly. The purpose of life is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned, not Chaitanya, Sarvam Bhattacharya mentioned about this, that one should be free from all this kind of attachment. He is mentioning that Vairagya Bhakti, Vairagya Vidya is Bhakti Yoga. Shiksartha Purusha Purana. He said to teach Vairagya and Nij Bhakti Yoga, own Bhakti Yoga. Shiksartha Purusha Purana. To give this instruction, the one person, very old Shiksartha Purusha Purana, he appeared, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is mentioning Sarvam Bhattacharya. In glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is mentioning this prayer. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach Vairagya and Bhakti Yoga. How much we have Bhakti depends on our Vairagya. Vairagya and Bhakti, they are directly opposite, reciprocal to each other. We have more Vairagya and directly proportional to each other. So we have more Vairagya than we have more Bhakti. Less Vairagya, less Bhakti. One must become detached slowly from this material angle. That's why we always stand in the morning and of prayer. That after hearing so many instructions, we are still not becoming free from this material. One of these last offenses we mentioned this. But after hearing all this, we will become free from this. So that is what mention is this, and then come to. So we have all misidentified a bit. Unfortunately, we have not understood different tattvas, Jiva tattva, Ishvara tattva, Shakti tattva. All these tattvas, they are tattvas there. And one is not properly understood this tattva. Unless one hears from a bona fide person, bona fide Vaishnava, who is free from this weakness, or free from this envy, then he will be able to understand what is this tattva, what is Jiva tattva, what is Shakti tattva, what are all these tattvas. And one must understand this tattva in order to understand what's in Bhagavatam. So that is what Srimad Bhagavatam comes to ultimate teachings. And ultimately, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj mentioned that we have all these books in the library. If they are lost, there is no loss if there is Srimad Bhagavatam still. So in short, he is telling us Srimad Bhagavatam is topmost Purana, Amalam Purana, pure Purana. And by worshipping, by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, by knowing about Srimad Bhagavatam, now comes Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is mentioned, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned that there are different stages of this. He mentioned that Srimad Bhagavatam is not different than Krishna. Very first point he mentions in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srimad Bhagavatam is not different than Krishna. Vrindavan Dham is nothing but an expansion of Krishna, not different than Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam is not different than Krishna. Vrindavan Dham, not different than Krishna. In Vrindavan, Krishna is the worshipable supreme deity. In Vrindavan, the gopis are the best examples of worship of Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is pure Amalam Purana. And that is the 5 points he mentioned about Srimad Bhagavatam in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And these are the 5 points that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Vrindavan Dham is an expansion of Krishna, not different than Krishna. Gopis are the best example of worshipping Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is pure Amalam Purana. And ultimately, by knowing these points, one can come to a point of bhakti. So that is how the bhakti can be done. And ultimately, it is mentioned that Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but the Vedanta Sutra's commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Srila Vyasadeva wrote all these Vedic literatures, all Vedas, Vedanta Sutra, Upanishad. And ultimately, at the end, he wrote Vedanta Sar, the sense of the all Vedas, and that is Srimad Bhagavatam. So one must understand how Srimad Bhagavatam is important. and how Srimad Bhagavatam can be understood by the person who are non-envious, Advaita. Only one word from that verse we took it up. And on that Nirmatsara, we discuss all these things. This is nothing but connected with Srimad Bhagavatam. And that Srimad Bhagavatam is the one that is always should be heard. That is why we mention that Nityam Bhagavata Seva. Always Bhagavad Seva should be there. Every morning once you try. Once you try to read it and once you try to understand, and by understanding and reading that thing, you become free from illusion, fear, and lamentation. Material world is full of fear and lamentation and illusions. We are always in fear of future. We are always lamenting what we don't have. And we are always under illusion thinking this will make me happy, and we keep on doing that thing, and ultimately we don't see that that's making me happy. We change the thing again, we go for something else with the expectation of becoming happy and nothing again. So these are all things we can come across, try to be happy in this material world, but ultimately we cannot. Because ultimately we have failed to understand Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prem. And Krishna Prem can be awakened only by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam is very important literature. Srila Prabhupada, as I mentioned, everybody should have a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam. You condense of one big copy. And one must every day read. If not, during the daytime, before going to bed, one should read one verse of Srimad Bhagavatam every day and see the change in the life of everybody what will come. And that's Srimad Bhagavatam. This to be heard by millions without any envy. And by hearing that way, one will develop definitely our Krishna Prem will be awakened. The Krishna Prem, Krishna sitting within our heart, the love will be awakened and ultimately will come to Krishna Bhakti or Prem. That is the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. And actually, all these qualities that's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, those 26 qualities, they are nothing but the qualities of Krishna. Possess all those qualities, of course. And we are part and parcel of Krishna. You know that we are part and parcel of Krishna. We have all those qualities lying there. If we develop our Krishna consciousness, these qualities can be awakened in us very quickly. So process is Krishna consciousness to awaken all those 26 qualities, beginning from Advaita, beginning from non-envy. All those qualities can be awakened by becoming purely Krishna conscious. Becoming purely Krishna means it begins from Sarvam Kirtan Vishnu Swaram Bhagavatam Varnam Dasam Shakyavatman. The process begins from hearing, Sravana, once you start hearing. And that's why Srimad Bhagavatam, the juice, the nectarine, sweetest juice should be drunk through hearing process. Hearing is very important. Here is the only scent, hearing is the only scent that works 24 hours a day. That sense does not take any rest. If it does, then you will be in trouble. You can wake up early in the morning, you can run away from the fire. If there is fire, that's only sound. Hearing will be the only one. On material level, that's the only thing that will wake you up and you can run away. So this hearing process will really wake you up from this slumber of material sleeping and bring to Krishna consciousness. And the hearing process of Srimad Bhagavatam is the process once you take up. So then you can awaken your Krishna consciousness and you can be happy from all those material lamentation, fears, and issues. Hare Krishna. If you want to become free, that's the process. Take it up. Hare Krishna. Hare Om. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. If you have any question, if I can answer them, if you have some time, you can have some question, you can answer. Otherwise, I hope that you accepted Srimad Bhagavatam reading every day. If you know, then take a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam, keep it with you and start reading. No point in waiting. Hare Krishna.